Now, when did you first meet? When did this happen? Before
It was 4
We
years
met
ago.
right before the beginning of Shanghai Noon. They thought it'd be good for us to have a dinner and get to know each other, and we ended up just calling it short. We just met for a drink because it was so awkward. We didn't have much to say.
You play awkward.
No, you showed up with 5 friends, and it was supposed to be just us talking, and we ended up not talking, really.
The producer said, Owen Wilson want to see you person. I said, what? I have nothing to say. Then I tell my manager, come. It doesn't matter. I don't know why he want to see my personally. Yeah. Then we see in the restaurant, not the restaurant, coffee shop.
Yeah, the
coffee
hotel.
shop. Then I sit there. Then I let my manager sit back. I just sit there. Then he come here. Hi. You order something? Yeah, I order tea. I said, you? Coffee. Okay. Oh, that's your idea. I said, yes. Okay, I guess see you on the set. It's finished.
Jordan, would you like to go to dinner with me before we shoot this movie?
No.
No. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. It's so brutal.
Yeah, it's incredibly awkward.
Yeah, it's really awkward.
It's funny because, at that point, Jackie has been like a movie star for like 30 years. Mm-hmm. And in his corner of the international cinema, he's like one of the biggest to ever do it, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe there's just part of it is like he has no time for, like he just doesn't care about Owen Wilson, doesn't have any time for making small talk with people, and it's just a really funny and awkward thing to think about. And it's funny because they're good on screen together.
Oh yeah.
But in that interview, which I guess you haven't seen, right?
I haven't seen it, and I will, because I'm curious, because the vibe you get from the movie is that they're the best of friends.
Yes.
Exactly.
Including from the outtakes at the end. You know, like they're cracking each
Which
other up.
some of them are canned. Some of those outtakes aren't for real.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fucked
What?
up.
No! Some of them aren't for real. There's one outtake that Jackie loves to do that's there. And so you'll see it in so many of his films. And once you start realizing it, you start seeing that, because sometimes he would do fake like stunt outtakes, right? Mm-hmm. Where someone else did the stunt, and then he'll do an outtake where he does the stunt so that it looks like he did it, right? Yeah. The most famous one is the roof jump in Rumble in the Bronx.
Okay, right.
But there's one outtake where Jackie's throwing hatchets.
Yes,
and
I was just going to
like
ask if
sound
it was
effects
that
of it hitting something and breaking, and he goes, "Oh!" Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's it. That outtake, he loves using those, and they're in so many of his outtake reels of him throwing something in the direction of the camera, and then a sound that they wouldn't be recording. There's no mics pointed.
I was just going to ask if it was that one, because I noticed that, and I was like, why? Because you hear like glass breaking.
It's like it's like a famous like stock glass breaking sound effect. You know what I mean? Yeah, the one like in a Wet Hot American Summer, that guy.
Oh, the clay pot.
Yeah, the clay pot.
Yeah. But it's they don't use the clay pot sound. I would have.
No, I know, but it's something like that.
Yeah,
right?
It's like the Wilhelm scream of glass breaking.
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty good. That wasn't bad.
Yeah,
that wasn't bad.
Yeah. But in that interview, it's so awkward, and it's funny because, I think both of them are just great actors and total pros. You know, so they know how to make chemistry work on screen. Mm-hmm. But in the films that these films are most often compared to, which is Jackie's other biggest American movies, the Rush Hour movies, I think Jack and Chris Tucker kind of have bad chemistry.
Yeah,
and yet I would totally believe that Jackie and Chris Tucker had a nice time hanging out together or something, or Chris Tucker like taking Jackie out to dinner was like something that they eventually got to enjoy. Whereas Owen Wilson being like, "Oh, do you want to meet for dinner?" And Jackie's just like, "Why?
Yeah, why would I do that?"
And he like brings his manager and his
bodyguards.
and they're It's so
brutal.
funny.
Okay, so Jordan and I watched this movie earlier this week, and then Alex, you watched it yesterday. or the day before something,
yesterday.
right? And so when we watched it, you told me about this clip that we're gonna put at the beginning of the episode. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really weird. And then when we watched the movie, I was thinking about it, obviously, right?
Uh-huh.
And their chemistry is so good that I kept saying, like, I refuse to believe they're not best friends.
Yeah.
You know? And then after the movie finished, we watched the clip on your phone. And it's like,
And it's awkward. It's not only
ice cold, yeah.
It's not only they're telling an awkward story, but as guests on an interview, they can't make anything work. It doesn't feel like they have chemistry at all.
No.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think also like Rush Hour was a far more financially successful film, and obviously like a bigger franchise, just in the sense that it spawned 3 versus the 2 of this one.
And a 4th apparently
That's in the
incoming,
works,
although
yeah.
they keep on. That's kind of been something they've talked about on and off for a long time.
Brett Ratner is back.
No.
Yeah. Rowan
Definitely
Polanski
not.
is back. All our favorite characters.
So maybe they were just like there was better chemistry between Jackie and Chris because they were just rolling in money. They were just having like evil money parties and like lighting cigars with $100 bills.
It's not hard to imagine that.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Chris Tucker was like one of the highest paid actors in the world.
And then
for
he
Rush
like
Hour
quit.
2.
Yeah.
Well, because he just made all the money. He
exactly.
wanted, I
Yeah.
think.
Like
Yeah. What do you need to do?
It felt like a toast to our success type thing.
So what's his big, because it's like that and like
Jackie Brown.
Friday.
Yeah, okay. Friday is probably one of his biggest movies.
Fifth
and then
Element,
Fifth
people
Element,
like.
right? Is
Yeah.
that pretty much it?
Money Train.
Oh, Money Train. I haven't seen Money Train.
Of course, Jackie
But
Brown.
I think his stand-up is something that really endeared him to people.
He's really good in Friday. I didn't see Friday when I was younger, but I watched it probably a couple years ago, and he is really funny in it. Like in the way that he's not in some of the other movies, like especially in like Fifth Element, he's really annoying, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's part of the whole thing, but in Friday it really works. That movie's funny.
Friday's good.
It's really good,
and he's good in it, and he's really good in Jackie Brown.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I haven't seen any like I haven't seen Air. Right?
Oh yeah,
He's in
I watched Air. Yeah. Oh yeah, Benny's Business movie review. I watched Air, not because I thought it'd be a good movie, but I wanted to get in that business mindset again. And I thought Air would be good because it's a movie about an underdog, a little fledgling company, little known company called Nike, that was just surviving on dreams.
Paycheck to paycheck, really.
Paycheck to paycheck.
They were struggling to like keep the lights on in the office.
Yeah, pay swoosh to pay swoosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not a check; it's a swoosh.
You're right.
The symbol.
Pay swoosh to pay swoosh.
Pay swoosh to pay swoosh. That's going to be on T-shirts. That's our first T-shirt.
Pay swoosh.
Yeah. So it was really cool to see just this little company. Enter the that only had 17% market share in basketball shoes or whatever.
Only 17.
Become the biggest basketball shoe company.
They win again.
Yeah, it was great. The best part, similar to the best part of Ben Affleck's other directorial achievement, Argo, is the ending, the wrap up with all of the quotes and everything like that. Mm-hmm. In Argo, it shows you like pictures of the real life hostages and situations, and the other. And when it gets to Ben Affleck's character, it's like you just need they call him Tony, right? I'm like, oh yeah, he's Tony, or he's Anthony, he's Tony, and then it's like, oh, Tony Mendez, and I'm like, oh, he's Tony Mendez. That's not Ben Affleck. This guy doesn't look anything like him.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's all. I mean, I don't know. People have already talked about this, but it's really funny. Just being like, it's like, and Michael Jordan went on to be the biggest basketball player of all time. Yeah. It's like Phil Knight donated $200 billion to charity or whatever it is. Something stupid.
I watched. I went to see Blackberry, and the tags at the end of that are kind of the writing in them is a little bit like weirdly informal. Oh, when they get to the best friend character, the Matthew Johnson character, I forget the name, but they were like, this guy is secretly one of the richest people in the world, and it was just interesting to describe him as one of the richest people in the world secretly. What they kind of mean was like, oh, not many people realize how rich this guy is.
Right.
But they phrase it like he's secretly one of the, like Batman or
yeah,
something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's weird. Yeah. but how was Blackberry? I haven't seen it yet.
It's great.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend Anna, who comes into Schmaltz, described it as a Canadian 4. Which might...
That's good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anna, who one day I will be brave enough to message on Twitter to invite her to come on the show.
She would be great.
She would probably. She's been on other movie podcasts I've listened to as a guest.
Yeah.
And like once you're a guest on one podcast, it's like you might as well. You got the
It's like
the
receiving
bug, right?
a grant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Except in the case of this show, it's not going to do much for your popularity or exposure. But so we'll pay you in free bagels.
Yeah,
I know she likes bagels.
Yeah,
yeah.
Plain cream cheese and cucumber.
Oh, damn, that's good. This guy's a professional. Yeah.
No, Blackberry's pretty good. It's a fun and pretty tight watch, even though I think it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's fun to see Jay Baruchel give be a character rather than just
Jay Baruchel.
Like all that classic comedians, they kind of just bring their own persona.
Yeah.
And he's trying to play someone else, and he does it well.
Cool.
And I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I do want to see it.
It's okay. What's the guy's name from Always Sunny who's in it?
Glenn Howerton.
Glenn Howerton.
Okay, so he's great.
Yeah.
But he's really heightened in a way that
right.
at first might feel a little bit mismatched from the tone of the film. It's like a little cartoonish. But by the end of the film, it's actually pretty magical what he is able to pull off. At one point, he near the end of the film, he delivers a line in a way that had me howling with laughter.
Oh man,
interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's great.
That's really good.
Yeah, well, we like to support Canadian cinema on the show, even though we don't talk about Canadian films ever, not yet. But one day we'll do Bon Cop, Bad Cop. Oh yeah, of course, Cube 2,
is a good one.
Cube 2, Hypercube, Cube 0.
Yeah.
Cube 2 Hypercube is one of the best movie titles of all
so
time.
good.
Yeah, it's so when people do when
Electric
they
Boogaloo,
something to Electric Boogaloo.
Die
it's
Harder.
It's
actually the same. Cube 2 Hypercube and Die Harder are the same title.
Yeah, but Hypercube is
Imagine a cube but more hyper.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good because it's cube squared, right? The same as like the Alien 3, Alien squared. Yeah, I don't know. So when you square a cube, that's what a hypercube is. We'll have to get a math guy. Will is that true?
Well, it's actually a tesseract that they're in. It's a 4D.
Oh,
it's the 4D equivalent, like what cube is to a square, what a tesseract is to a cube.
Oh, okay, yeah. This is on Chatting Q. No, that doesn't work. I thought that would be an alliteration because you see they start with the same. You see they both start with C. You see.
Yeah.
You see shit.
Q talking cube.
Cube. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. This is the Franchisees podcast, and we have a guest. We're talking about Shanghai Noon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like and review the show on your podcast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so
Appreciate it.
our guest today is not only an expert. I'm going to call you an expert. I don't want to embarrass you.
Not an actual expert.
Not an actual expert. Yeah. Someone who loves Hong Kong action cinema and loves Jackie Chan, and also I don't know if he loves the podcast, but he's probably the only guest who's actually listened to almost all the episodes.
Actually, multiple times. I've listened to
Jordan has listened to every episode.
And I can explain
times.
why if that sounds unhinged.
No, I think I know why.
Okay.
Can I see your last name? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's Jordan Seccareccia.
Yeah,
I pronounced it correctly.
Why did you want to say it?
Oh, because I just like it. I never get a chance to say Seccareccia. Yeah. You never call. I'm not like the boys in the office who are like, hey, Turnbull, hey, I'm not going to say
Turnbull's a good man.
Yeah, Turnbull. Yeah. Oh, that actually really fucked with me. I was pretty high, and it was like I had seen the movie a couple times. I had no idea, and it would not have caught on had Jesse not insisted we watch it with the subtitles. And it was like Turnbull's a good man. He's like, what the fuck? Oh man. Oh,
just right now.
Yeah,
really went to another place.
I know.
It's Turnbull's a good man. And you're just losing your mind.
It just freaks me out. It freaks me out. How would I not? Like I'm thinking, okay, Turnbull. The name Turnbull in cinema history. There's the Turnbull ACs, a gang in the Warriors, right? I believe John Malkovich's villain character in Jonah Hex is named Turnbull. And then what else?
Did they not do that in Air at all? Because that's like a big historical moment when Michael Jordan gets signed and he says, I guess I'm going to turn bull.
I guess I'm going to turn bull. That was good.
That's an actual quote.
Yeah. Well, no, you know why they don't use that? The Michael Jackson character, fuck, God damn it. The Michael Jordan character in Air, acknowledge, ignore, resume, the business strategy. That's what I was thinking. That's why I watched it. I didn't know it was about the shoe until I got until about half an hour in.
You thought it was a documentary.
I thought it was about sales.
About those three. Yeah.
But no, the Michael Jordan character his parents are the characters. He's there, but it's like I don't know what other movie it is, but you don't see his face. Yeah. And there's a couple of very clunky scenes where like he obviously has to be in the room for certain meetings, and his face is obscured by stupid
Austin Powers.
Yeah,
he's like the neighbor in Home Improvement.
Right, exactly. Yes.
So you never actually see like the actor's face who plays him?
No, and he doesn't have any lines.
Good.
Yeah.
Better off probably.
Yeah.
But then, because if the point is that he's so ubiquitous, they're not going to even bother trying to represent him. Then you don't need the epigraph at the end, being like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, right.
Michael Jordan went on to do this.
Michael Jackson was
gotten the actual Michael Jordan to play himself.
That would be great. That would
been really funny.
See now that
de-age
and
him.
I know that Ben Affleck is a fan of Bertolt Brecht. And it would be a Brechtian distancing device
of him.
To cast the aged Michael Jordan as the young MJ we know and love. So thank you for coming onto the show.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited. You'll be back also for Shanghai Nights.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk a lot about Jackie Chan, and I guess also to a lesser extent, Owen Wilson. Not that he's any less like we were howling. It's like he is so funny in this movie.
He's
right?
so funny.
He's so good.
That was one of the other things about that interview when Jay Leno's asking them Jay Leno asked Owen Wilson so have you seen any Jackie Chan movies before you got to work with him? And Owen Wilson's like, well, yeah, I've seen the Cannonball Run, which he's barely in, right? And it's not a Jackie Chan movie.
No, that would have been a lot of Americans' introduction to Jackie Chan, who didn't have access to,
for sure,
Hong Kong
but
movies, right?
It's like if you watched Cannonball Run and then watched Rush Hour,
right?
You would be told that guy is actually in Cannonball Run, and you go, what?
Yeah, right.
Really?
Right. It's more of a cameo even, right? I've never seen it.
He plays a very small part.
Right.
It's like a whole bunch of racers, competing in this race, and he's one of the racers. And then when they ask Jackie Chan about Owen Wilson, he's kind of struggling to figure out what to say about Owen Wilson, and he says he's a really good writer.
Right.
And we theorize that this is because a year earlier he had been nominated for an Oscar for writing, right?
Yes.
For the Royal Tenenbaums?
Yes, I believe that was correct.
And so I feel like Jackie just thought, oh, God, what can I say about this guy? Oh, I know he has got some kind of award for writing. Oh, he's a really good writer. Yeah. Although also apparently Owen Wilson punched up the screenplay quite a bit and did lots of on-set rewriting.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because most of his kind of quips and one-liners feel very like Owen Wilson-y, like from not so much. Well, actually, kind of reminiscent of some of his of like the very early like Wes Anderson stuff. Like his asides and things sound like Dignan from Bottle Rocket a little bit. You know, where he's just kind of, he'll like look off and like wax poetic about something and it's really dumb, you know? He's so good at that. Yeah. Oh, we should watch Bottle Rocket.
I feel like I keep on derailing your attempt to introduce and like set the stage for us to talk about this movie.
This show could be called Derailment, the podcast, honestly.
Yeah, we love to derail. Oh, here, let me derail it further. Benny's Business Corner. Okay. I'll keep it quick. Okay, I'll keep it quick. Okay.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Are you fucked?
I'm so fucked, you guys.
Hey, Ben, is it so fucking over?
It's not Jover yet, nor is it Bover.
Can I ask? This is embarrassing because it's been like 4 episodes now. But what's Jover in relation to?
I'm so glad you asked. Jover.
I've just been sitting here quietly, not like just being like, yes, Jover.
It's a Todd
okay.
Phillips movie.
Oh,
yeah,
Joker.
The Jover. Yeah.
So okay.
No. It's it is merely a meme, and the Joe in Jover references President Joseph Robinette Biden. Yeah. The current and greatest president, the oldest and therefore best president.
Yeah.
And so when people, when people are excited, they say, "Let's fucking Joe." And when it's Jover, it's Jover. Right?
I see.
And I think it's the image is one where he looks sad on the stage, and it's
It's him like staring pensively at his pedal board.
Yeah.
He's about to play a sick riff.
Yeah.
He performs shoegaze.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I read a tweet where someone was like talking about pronouncing shoegaze like fugazi. Fugazi.
Fugazi.
That's funny. I'm gonna think
it's an
about
old
that.
joke.
Oh man.
Yeah, people have been doing that since Fugazi was a thing.
Oh man. I'm not tapped in.
No, it's really good.
Yeah.
I like when people pronounce it fugazi.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
woozy, it's a wazi. Oh, I watch that scene all the time. I'm going to rewatch Wolf of Wall Street for business purposes eventually. But I watch the McConaughey scene like almost every day. Just to
he
put
says
me in the
it,
mindset.
yeah.
So
it's a woozy, it's a wazi.
I actually did, watch that on YouTube recently. It's really good.
It is really good. Sorry, I won't do it. Yeah.
What's your business life?
Okay, business update. Last week I was more sick than I am this week. However, I have maintained a current kind of like low level sickness the entire time I've been there. Just a cold, and I found out a lot of people have this exact same thing. They're just kind of like always a little bit sick because it's just kind of a stressful environment, and the hours are really long. However, after flopping last week pretty much every day, and flopping on Monday this week, they moved me from the apartment buildings into the residential, and I worked where most people do it, and they set me up with a new mentor, not to do the training again, but to kind of give me some advice, and I learned a lot from this guy. He's very intense, but and not all the stuff is applicable to me, but he really, really helped me out in terms of like confidence. And I was able to get a sale Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It was the leads.
It was, yeah.
You just had shitty leads.
Well, as we say on the show from Glengarry Glen Ross, the leads are weak, you're weak, right? That's the truth. But the leads, they were bad. And the leads today, I think, were pretty bad. And so I flopped hard today, and it was very stressful.
Though it should be noted today, it sucks, but it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday. Yeah, it's a Saturday. So apparently I have to work 6 days of the week. I think it's more like out of every 14 days, you have to work 11 days. So one Saturday at least.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But just as the day was ending, our boss reminded us in the chat, Sunday, holiday Monday, Canada, Victoria Day, to celebrate a few queens back. You can work those days. Even though on Monday, I believe the office is closed, you can work those days. They will send you leads if you want, and you can go out and work. And the whole, they gave a lesson, right, about a work-life balance, as I was talking about, and it's just, there's no such thing, right? You're always working. When you're at home, the very few hours you have at home, You're supposed to be practicing your pitch and be working on things. You're supposed to be pitching your friends and your family. You can bring your iPad to switch people over to the gym, to the grocery store. I can take my ID tag and go anywhere and pitch anybody at all times, and that's how you get successful. And that's that idea of just kind of always being working. I think to anybody, but especially to somebody like me who is like doesn't like work and has never really found any work very fulfilling, is mortifying. But I conquered a couple of fears. Like we went for a break where we're not supposed to be working. They call it a reset. Just get a coffee and like relax and reset, and then get out there and make a sale. Right?
Rub one out.
Yeah, rub one out. Yeah, those are rookie numbers. Got to get those numbers up. But the guy I was with, who's, again, very intense, loved this guy, he was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, Ben. If you feel comfortable, we're at a Tim Hortons. He's like, if you feel comfortable, go pitch somebody who's at a table. And I was like, okay, this is the worst thing. This is the idea of going up to somebody. The idea of knocking at someone's door and trying to sell them on something is terrifying, just in general. I know I would hate someone doing that, and I know it's bothering people. The idea of going up to someone who's at a restaurant, like, okay, it's shitty at Tim Hortons, right?
Yeah.
But it's a restaurant who's eating a meal by themselves, and walking up to them and being like, hey, like, how you doing? Let me pitch you on this, was really, really scary to me. But I did it, and I didn't get a sale there, but I did a presentation, a Prezi they call it. And I gave him my phone number, and it's a potential follow-up. Who knows, right?
Do you know what that sounds like to me?
Yeah.
It sounds like when those, special services in like Germany or Russia make you like raise like a little rabbit from infancy to like full grown, and then you kill it. Because it's like you're kind of, you're stripping away your fears. Like now you have no qualms going up to a person, just sitting down, enjoying their Timbits and like.
I have done awful things. Yeah. The amount of figurative rabbits I've broken necks just stepping, it's like I'm a fucking beast, man. I'm a stud.
You're a killer.
My favorite is when the boss calls me a stud. It's like, you're right.
Ben Turnkill.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Ben. Whatever. Benny Hanna is what they call me at the office. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's going better. It's not as Jover as I thought it was last week.
It's never Jover.
It's never Jover. Yeah. But it's super stressful, and I am not going to work on Sunday or holiday Monday. I'm going to observe Queen Victoria by playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm going to spend 5 hours building one vehicle, and then I'm going to say, "Oh, good! Like that was fun." And then I'll look at how many hours I played, and it'll be embarrassing. Yeah.
But you haven't played it yet.
Oh no, I got it.
Oh, but you started playing?
Oh yeah, I started playing.
Okay, well,
it's great.
It's
really good?
Because I was really apprehensive about that building mechanic. Because I hate in any video game when you have to like control something with like telekinesis and move it around to get it to fit. Like I hate that.
Yeah. So just to ease your fears, because I've been playing quite a bit of it, you don't have to engage with that at all.
Okay.
To get through, you can play the game like every single time the game asks you to build something to solve a quest or a puzzle or whatever, it just leaves the objects you need right there in front of you.
Okay.
And the objects connecting to each other, there's like, maybe 4 points of connection on each object. So like snapping them together is like pretty hassle free.
Okay.
And then, because the thing that I'm sure was intended there's a lot of intentions behind putting this system in the game. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I've seen people online make a lot of like rocket penises, which is pretty cool.
And like that was they totally saw people exploiting the physics of Breath of the Wild in all these absurd ways, and saw the game living online in a way that no Zelda game has, right? And thought like, well, let's make a game that rewards that amount of like creativity and weirdness. And so now you just see stuff of people, like I saw somebody who built like a aerial strike drone that launched its own mini drone from it and just like decimates, and it's just crazy, right?
insane.
But you don't have to do any of that.
No.
Like
No.
it's very much a sequel to Breath of the Wild. Like
Yeah.
you can just spend the whole game doing the stuff you did in Breath of the Wild if you liked that.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
only in shrines will you ever have to like really put stuff together, and like you said, it's all there for you. It's very simple.
It's
Yeah.
very basic, the
Yeah.
stuff that you have to put together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would,
But
yeah.
it's very intimidating, right? Because like
Yeah.
as soon as you kind of get off the tutorial area, you know, at least I ran into a place with like building materials. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I guess I got to build a car, and it's and I'm like, it's the.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the memes of like Homer building the grill.
Right.
It's like, why doesn't mine look like that? Yeah, and yeah, like you don't have to do that.
You don't have to-
don't have to do it.
I'll get
It
to it
is-
eventually.
but you know,
But it's
you're
really
gonna
fun. It's
want
fun
to
to-
once you start
Oh,
toying
yeah.
with it.
It's
Yeah.
so
It's
crazy,
intimidating
yeah.
because it's just like
Yeah.
there's just so much available to you. As soon as you, it's the same as the last one. As soon as the game lets you do what you want, it's just and then once you start poking around and you realize like maybe I'm not going to spoil anything.
No.
But the map's way bigger than you expect it to be. If you're expecting
Yes.
it to be, they're kind of reusing the Breath of the Wild map, which they are, but there's another map.
Yeah.
And
Is
then
it-
you
it's
realize.
the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, the
That's
map's
right.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts. So once you just start picking at the game and realizing just how much there is to do, it's overwhelming, but it's also really beautiful.
There's a lot more resource management too. Like there's even more stuff to collect and like things to find and trinkets and and that stuff. Because I haven't beaten Breath of the Wild, though. This has inspired me to go back and like beat some of those Zelda games.
You just need to finish.
I just need to beat Ganon,
Yeah,
but like going
super
back
simple.
into it is so.
That was
overwhelming.
I mean, not
I know
just,
what you mean.
but that was one of the best moments in like, I don't play a lot of video games, but that was one of the best moments in any video game ever, right? Which was playing Breath of the Wild. You do this tutorial area that's like 2 to 3 hours, and then once you do it and you get a cutscene, and then a quest shows up that just says defeat Ganondorf, and it points you to it.
Yeah.
And
That's sick.
You could just go.
Yeah. It was
and
so
try
cool.
it.
And people do it.
It's bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
It's so exciting. Just like thinking about how audacious that moment was.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah. I remember being like, oh, is that like I could do that, right? And then I'm not going to do that. That's not how I play the game. No.
I'm looking forward to our new sister Twitch channel, the franchisees, where Ben and I play through entire video game franchises.
That's
we're,
awesome. Yeah.
We're currently working through Legend of Zelda.
Cool.
Starting with 1986's Legend of Zelda.
Nice. Why not?
It's a great game.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If you know what to do, you could get through it pretty quick.
Yeah, and on Twitch, right, we can take off our socks and put our feet up, and people can see them on camera,
Then he
right?
makes
This
And
is
then,
what the people want.
Ching, ching,
Yeah,
thanks
yeah.
for the subscribe. Ching, ching, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Yes, I did pay $20 for an OnlyFans. It's, why, thank you, credit card man. That's a callback to a real life event that just happened. We don't need to get into it. We don't need to get into it. No, I mean, that's funny. I'll say it. I'll say it.
There's no shame.
There's no shame.
Sex work is work.
Thank you, Alex. My credit card got stolen because I left it in a machine in a GO station in Brampton, like a fucking idiot. And then I had to verify these purchases. Someone tried to buy it was like a $50 or $60 charge, like a GO station.
Loading their Presto card.
I guess it must have been something like that. And so I had to
For people who listen from outside of Toronto, a Presto card is a transit card.
It's a transit card. It's like an Oyster card
Yeah.
in the UK or whatever. I guess America has no is a crumbling infrastructure, so there's no.
Build
We have
back
those little
better.
No,
MTA cards in New York.
Yeah, and I don't remember. I'm so fried. I'm so fucked. I'm fucked and fried. I'm grilled.
But you were
Totally
on the
grilled.
phone.
Oh yeah,
to
right.
cancel your
To
card.
yeah, and they were like, okay, we have to check on some or verify some recent things. And I had just recently subscribed to an OnlyFans that is like I think it's the first time I've ever done that, and it just happened like the day when I would have to verify these purchases. And he's going through a few things. And I'm like, that's me, and I'm like, please, like, you don't have to say that one, but it was recently, right? And he's like, yeah, and I just want to confirm $20 for OnlyFans.com. And yeah, I try to play it cool,
Well,
like
there's nothing wrong with that.
that's me, baby. Yeah. No, he. You know what? Maybe not everybody knows what that is, right?
It's the idea of someone stealing your credit card and using it to get an OnlyFans for themselves is very funny. Also,
very
like,
funny, yeah.
sick! I finally get to subscribe to like sexy couple like 416.
Yeah. They do all have names like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be more creative. This is
Seriously. Call
Brian-
yourselves the franchisees.
the franchisees. Yeah. A singular
Only
name,
franchisees.
Only franchisees. Oh, that's good.
Oh.
See, this is like okay, and this is we'll wrap up Benny's business corner because Zelda was included in that. Because I play Zelda kind of like to get inspired for sales, right?
How can I craft a sale?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about crafting that sale. We're thinking of this like sort of how my boss ran this morning meeting where he yelled and screamed at people and called them motherfuckers in front of the entire office, which I thought was personally, I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
I think that is the correct way to treat people.
Okay, so when I say that Glenn Howerton's performance in Blackberry is like heightened and cartoonish, he's just doing stuff like that.
It's real.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I've never worked at a place where that I've never worked at a white collar job where I've seen that type of like office thing. In other situations, I definitely would. Yeah, like people yell at people at Canada Post and whatever, and I don't know. It's slightly different though. It's different in the sense that this guy is like a multimillionaire and he's yelling at someone who's like poor. Yeah, up. I don't know. It's fucked up.
You could kill. Oh, never mind.
No.
In Minecraft.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. The list of people I'd kill in Minecraft. You don't even know, man. You don't even know. Yeah. What else is going on? What's in the news these days? You hear about this? Jay Leno. The Cannes Film Festival is in full swing.
Oh yeah. Apparently Killers of the Flower Moon is good and Indiana Jones 5 is bad.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that this is how it would go?
Yeah. See, now I had my chips the other way around, and and I just lost a lot of. Okay, we're talking about business, we're talking about sales, we're talking about deals. I made a huge mistake betting that Indiana Jones would win the Palme d'Or. My number one mistake was not checking that it to see if it was playing in competition or not. It's not. Neither Killers of the Flower Moon nor Indiana Jones are eligible for the Palme d'Or. So I really fucked up there. But yeah, that's too bad.
It's like betting against the Globetrotters.
Yeah. You bet against the Harlem Globetrotters. That's extra bad news for, say, a franchise-based film podcast that may or may not be doing those Indiana Jones films directly after this. We're gonna have to go see that in the theater.
I mean, you are treating yourself with that series. Like,
it's fun.
They're mostly great.
Yeah, 3 out of 5 ain't bad.
Yeah. And the badness in them is still fun. I don't think it's fun because
I don't know
the
about
stuff that's bad about, let's
bad.
say, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is actually pretty seriously fucking bad.
Yeah,
but
it is bad.
The stuff that's good about that movie is actually maybe the highest the series ever got.
There's some really good stuff in it. Yeah. It's just a super annoying. We talked about that.
It's
right?
really annoying and really,
annoying.
really deeply hateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Deeply hateful movie.
Yes. His. Yeah. I mean, in a way. Well, and the first one's pretty racist too, right? In a lot of ways. But the second one really amps it up. Like it really does feel like that. It's almost more offensive than the like adventure serials that from the like 30s that it's based on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for them. They really figured it out. You know, he really figured it out. Spielberg, man, fucking genius. This guy. Yeah. Yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm really excited. I'm reading the book right now. It's really good. I'm like halfway through, and I looked at some of the reviews. I didn't want to read any because I don't need someone to tell me it's good.
Apparently,
right?
I think it's Variety published like an irresponsibly plot summary style review.
Well, I mean, it is a matter of public record. You can find out what happened. But yeah, I'm even before all that and before the trailer came out, I was reading the book, and I was just thinking like, if he can pull this off, which like of course he can, right? It could very easily be one of the best movies of his career, just based on the subject matter and like how, how perfect it is for like him specifically. So I don't know. I'm really excited. It's probably the number one movie I'm looking forward to right now. Yeah.
Well, we just mentioned Rush Hour 4.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So it's Killers of the Flower Moon, Rush Hour 4, Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. And then what else is it can? Oh, the Johnny Depp movie.
Oh, Jesus.
the Johnny Depp cancel culture movie or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Did you know there has been a Shanghai Noon third film in
Shanghai
development
Dawn.
hell? Was that what it was? Yeah, for like the longest time. And
Okay.
it's probably never going to see the light of day.
Okay, so if we break down the naming convention of this series and then try to project forward from that what Shanghai Dawn could be about, right? Shanghai Noon, High Noon. It's one of the funniest movie titles of all time, actually, right? So it's a Western. Shanghai Nights, but Nights is spelled with a K to indicate that they're in Great Britain.
Yes.
And then Shanghai Dawn, could it be The Godfather?
Oh.
It would have to be something, because if it's just Dawn, then it's like, what's that? It's not funny.
I think that'd be really funny if they just got themselves into like a gangster epic.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a moment where I was watching it with you the other day where in my mind I was like, oh, Shanghai Noon, High Noon.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it out loud because you would have laughed at me.
Oh, I wouldn't have.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
But
That's
it is legitimately, I think,
it's
really
very
funny movie title.
It's very funny.
And
movie title.
it's the style of humor of the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very like silly and lighthearted and lovable, you know?
Yeah. So I remember I asked you kind of like, we wanted to do these movies. We wanted to talk about Jackie Chan. And we're not doing like classic Jackie Chan, not movies he directed, not movies he made in Hong Kong. But these are like the best American movies he ended up making, right?
Yeah. And the more time I spend like thinking about this, the larger the gap seems to me between like these films and everything else he did in the Hollywood system, for sure.
Because the Rush Hour series, like we were talking about, they're probably the most famous American movies he did.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of junk. There's like the Tuxedo.
I saw that in theaters.
The
I
Tuxedo?
saw Tuxedo in
Yeah,
theaters.
I think I might have.
I think
as well.
that was, I think the Tuxedo was really like heavily sold, you know? And after that is when it stopped. His stardom in the West started to fade.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think about just how much presence he had for a while in a way that probably doesn't exist anymore for kids, right? But like for us, there's a period of about like 5 years where like he was a cartoon character.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jackie Chan Adventures, Saturday morning cartoons is one of the best ones you could watch.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
I've
that.
gone back to it because this is my life.
Yeah.
And it's not bad for what it is.
Yeah.
And and then he had like a series of hit films, and those were hits all over the world. And then he also had, not only like English language hit films, but huge Hong Kong movies that he was appearing in still, right? although those slowed down once he became a bigger star in the West, and then picked back up once he decided to stop doing those kinds of movies.
Yeah, and so surely now the movies he's making in China are just as good as the. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah,
but okay, what's your familiarity with Jackie's career and the kinds of the film industry he comes from?
Well, as a child, we grew up in an era where we all had cable, and like, TBS, the Superstation, would show like one of his old Hong Kong films like pretty regularly on weekends and stuff. So and they were like a lot of fun and like really cool to watch, like Drunken Master and I can't like even name them off the top of my head right now, like the Police Story movies, stuff like that. And they actually saw Police Story 2 at TIFF with Aiden a few years ago, last time they visited.
Right. I remember when they played that. And
that was a lot of fun. But yeah, like growing up, he's just really cool and like really funny, and like they're a lot of fun to watch. And I think I really appreciated the humor in the movies as well. Even in some of like the Hong Kong stuff that was maybe more like action oriented. There was always like a sense of levity, which was very appealing to a younger person. And then I did love Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2 when I was a kid.
So
they were like, I saw Rush Hour 2 in theaters and like died laughing and just like. But then oddly enough, so Shanghai Noon came out in 2000, so I was like 9 turning 10, and I watched the shit out of it. Like I remember renting it, and there was still like, there were some things that I totally forgot about. There was one gag that really cracked me up that we'll get to later that I did not understand as a kid. But I to this day, while I was watching it, I remembered, you said wet shirt, like don't break, not piss shirt bend bar. Lines so like funny. Lines like that like were like ingrained in my memory.
It's a funny movie.
But
it's
then
really funny. Yeah. I think the thing that you're talking about that you did get then but got now, there was a moment that made me laugh really hard yesterday.
I wonder if it's the same moment.
And we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But
then, so Shanghai Noon comes out in 2000, right? And then I watched the shit out of it, and Shanghai Nights comes out in 2003. At some point, I acquired a VHS copy of it, and I never finished it, which I think really speaks to like, you change so much between like 10 to 13 or whatever. Yeah. And it's not like I didn't like Jackie Chan at that point, but I guess maybe like everything else was shifting, and maybe Shanghai Nights was probably at the right? When did Tuxedo come out? Because I wonder if like Shanghai Nights was kind of at the tail end of his like Hollywood period.
Yeah, I don't know the year, but I think Tuxedo comes out between them.
Right. So maybe I saw that in theaters and then Shanghai Nights, and I just wasn't as like, it didn't feel as, essential to watch or anything like that.
Shanghai Nights, I mean, I'll just won't say
anything. You can say one thing if you want.
I think Shanghai Nights is the clear best movie that he made in America.
Okay, great.
And also, that one was a classic of like, my dad's family is in Sault Ste. Marie, so we go on these long drives every now and then. And sometimes we stop into like a drugstore and get a DVD off the spinning rack. And there's a CRT strapped to a folded seat in the van, that we will throw a DVD into to get us to be quiet and pay attention to something during this 8-hour drive.
Yeah.
And Shanghai Nights, that got a lot of play. Like one of the most watched, and these two movies are so easy to rewatch in a way that, I mean, gosh, I think it's not like people don't love Rush Hour. So I get that I'm saying this as I'm in the minority here. But every time I go back to Rush Hour, I'm so bored by it. It's so dull and lifeless, I find. And that, I think a lot of it comes down to the visual style and the way it's directed. And it's just such a bummer watching Jackie Chan be like second wheel in his own film. Yeah. He doesn't have any jokes. He doesn't really fight that much. And when we were talking about chemistry earlier, something that my older brother pointed out when I was talking to him about these movies recently that I thought was really actually like quite insightful. Is Chris Tucker just kind of has the same chemistry with everybody, right? He just like is such a dominating screen presence.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah, and Jackie, especially as like, you know, he's English is not his first language. He's kind of like a very as a comedian, he's very like physical. It's all in like the way he expresses himself with his body, you know. He has that amazing scene in Shanghai Noon where he's getting high and he's just like mugging like crazy. It's so funny. But Chris Tucker is like loud, like the way he talks, and that's actually it was like the fastest hands in the East meet the loudest mouth in the West, right?
Right.
And so Jackie just kind of has nothing to do in Rush Hour, and it's so these days I watch it and it just kind of like makes me angry and depressed a little bit. And Rush Hour 2 I find a little bit more fun, but it's still not great. But Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights are so easy to rewatch, and they're so fun.
It was a huge comfort watch for me.
Yeah.
And you're right, like in the way Rush Hour is shot, it's kind of boring, it's kind of drab. Whereas Shanghai Noon, I mean, it's not like
looks great.
It's not a masterpiece of cinematography, but it's like there's a lot of like great like golden hour shots where you know you could see like almost like halos around them from the sun, and like everything's warm.
It's a Western, right?
Yeah,
Whereas,
totally.
and it's shot in Alberta, by the way, which is fun. But
I thought I recognized.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
And like
Alberta is a province in Canada for people who aren't up to date on that.
And it's a beautiful part of the world, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor the point too much because I forget even the name of the guy who directed Shanghai Noon. But Brett Ratner is a bad director, right? And
very bad.
One consistent thing across his filmography is that he mounts and directs movies very poorly.
Yes.
And when you watch Rush Hour, you're watching the work of a hack.
Yeah, and it goes to show too, right, that you can be a bad at making art, but still a good guy. Like still like an upstanding, right?
Yeah, no, you're talking about this as a joke. Brett Ratner is a terrible man.
Oh, yes, sorry.
And it's so over for him. It's over for Brett Ratner.
Yeah, it's been over for a long time.
So Jackie Chan means a lot to me, and Hong Kong cinema in general. And I'll just say that, like, I grew up in Markham, which is just north of Toronto, and it has a really large population of people from Hong Kong, right, who came to avoid the handover in 1997. And in our neighbors, the Lins, had a projector in the basement, which was like magic, because to us it was just like going to a movie theater, but it was in our neighbor's house in the basement. And they were so generous and kind and let us hang out down there and watch movies and stuff. And Mr. Lin would go to China a couple times a year and just come back with like crates full of bootleg DVDs. So all these Hong Kong movies were available to me from a pretty young age. And like you said, they're really charming. They're very funny. They're full of like action scenes that blow your mind more the older you get. Because when you're a kid, you watch an action scene and you just take it for granted, I think.
Absolutely.
But as you grow and like understand what it takes to mount something like that, and you compare an action movie, I mean, Live Free or Die Hard is directly Bruce Willis is staring at me from that DVD case. When you compare the shit in that to something like you mentioned, like Police Story, right? Yeah. There's a scene in Police Story that is always playing in my head. It's during the mall fight at the end, where Jackie he's like, you know, when Mario has Bowser by the tail and he's spinning him around. Jackie has someone like by the ankles and he's spinning him, and he like spins him through a sheet of glass. Yes. He doesn't like throw him through it like he punches a hole and lands on the other side. He breaks him, he takes him from one side of the glass and just like all the way to the other, right? Like undoing a zipper. And it's so violent and so dangerous, and it like nowadays when I watch it, and that action scene is about 7 minutes long. And it's just so fast. And every 15 seconds, there's another stunt like that you watch, and it's just like the brutality of it is shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's also very playful and fun and funny, right?
Yeah.
And as I grew up and thought more and more about those films and watched more and more of them, it moved from being, like a fun kind of movie, I guess, like an action movie or anything. You start to realize that you can really make a case for like, and this, I'm just talking about my personal experience because this is obvious to most people, I think. You can really make the case for like the style and filmmaking that was happening in Hong Kong as like a real achievement in world cinema. Something that's like completely has a creative distinction, and those movies could not have been made anywhere else. Their influence is huge, right? Especially like you guys did the John Wick movies, right?
Yes.
Which is just like John Woo worship films, right?
Yeah.
That's reductive, but
No, I know what you
but
mean.
it's they had Donnie Yen in the one for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so you can really make the case for those films as like not just, just entertainment is also reductive, but like there's so much to value and to like look into as a movement in cinema. And at this point, I think they are, right? Like people have pretty squarely come to appreciate what they were doing at the time. And it wasn't like an accident, it's not like, oh, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. And when you look at it now, it's like, oh, these were mad geniuses. Like they were like fully intentional making these weird, and it's not just the action movies coming out of Hong Kong. Like this is the system that produced Wong Kar-wai, right? And An Hui. So it's like, it's a whole cinema movement that is just so vibrant and exciting to dig into. And it's the other thing that's interesting about it, or that makes it easier to think about, is that it's kind of a closed book at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's over, right? And it started and ended in the span of like maybe 25 years, right? So it's just like the story has a beginning and an ending, kind of.
Yeah.
And Jackie is the most famous person to come out of that. Like notably, a Hong Kong action movie worship film just won Best Picture at the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
So like it's
A movie that was trying to cast Jackie Chan, right?
Yes, which would have been crazy because that film's about being estranged from your like gay child.
Yes.
And Jackie Chan actually has a gay child who is apparently living in poverty and he will not acknowledge or talk to.
Yes.
We should also say this, like this is one of the worst people you've talked about on this show, right? In terms of what he does with his personal life.
He's
a
had
bad
like
man.
multiple affairs and left people in the dust, right?
Well,
Like,
having affairs is having affairs.
No, yeah,
but
no,
like,
yeah.
Abandoning your child and never when you're an obscenely wealthy man is a pretty
reprehensible thing to do.
It's a reprehensible thing to do, and there's a lot of other stuff that comes with that he's said and done in his life that is worth,
I'm trying to think if there's anybody worse we've talked about on the show. Friend of the pod, Jordan Peterson, maybe.
Nothing is worse than faking end of the movie bloopers or outtakes, though. That is like a goddamn.
Yeah, that is really
okay.
sick,
So we were talking about, not to jump back and forth, but we were talking about while those bloopers were playing yesterday. When you watch like Police Story, or the most famous one is Armor of God, right? The outtakes of a Jackie Chan movie, if you watch a film made between like I guess the first time he did outtakes was The Young Master, I think. But I might be wrong about that, and annoys me. But
we're not going to correct you on that one.
If you watch any of those outtake reels, it's always at some point Jackie Chan is like twitching and covered in blood, and they're loading him onto a stretcher, and everyone looks terrified, right?
Yeah.
And the ones in Shanghai Noon are so silly.
Yeah.
He's just like got bubbles on his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Uno mas.
He's being a goofball, yeah.
Anyways, so Jackie has this incredible career, right? that turns him into a gigantic star, not only in Hong Kong. And this is the other thing about Hong Kong cinema that's kind of funny, right? Hong Kong's just a city, right? It's a special autonomous region after it's handed over, right? And before it's handed over, it's a colony, basically. It's just a city of about 8 million people. And so the idea that this like one incredibly hyper local place develops this like distinct and hugely like powerful cinema movement like that is kind of remarkable. And what ends up happening from the just like the sheer quantity and quality of the films that were being made, it becomes like Jackie becomes a star not only in Hong Kong but in like all of Southeast Asia, and eventually in the UK those films started becoming cult films and then became popular films before they were in North America. And then in the mid-90s he finally starts becoming a box office star, right, with Rumble in the Bronx and Police Story 3 become theatrically released.
Rumble in the Bronx was a huge TBS movie.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
That was probably the other than whatever like American movies. I mean, maybe Shanghai Noon might have been one of the first Jackie Chan movies I would have seen. But Rumble in the Bronx was the first where I was like, oh, okay, like he's an extremely talented like action star, right?
Yeah,
I remember having that DVD.
And it's funny because he comes from a cohort and like that includes most famously Sammo Hung, right? And those the other stars of Hong Kong cinema at the time all have distinct qualities to them that might make them more interesting than Jackie. But Jackie just was able to put all the pieces together in a way that sold everywhere and made him huge in Hong Kong, right? But I mean, we watched this movie recently called Prodigal Son.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
It's directed by Sammo, but he's barely in it. But
when he's in it,
gives himself the most electrifying 10 minutes in film history.
It's so good.
Yeah, he has this long gag where he's doing calligraphy and he's terrible at it. And it has the best punchline where when you see what he's been drawing, it's so funny. And then it cuts and Yun Bu is outside. And he's talking to Sammo's daughter, and she accuses him of trying to take advantage of her. And he just explodes out of a window. And it's like, I know, just describing the movie, nobody listening, you just have to watch this.
Just watch
but Prodigal Son also has like a musical sequence randomly, right? There's a scene, again, just talking about like the audacity of the filmmaking. There's a scene where like maybe one of the most dangerous uses of fire on screen and just like awe-inspiring. Anyway, so it's interesting. Some people, once you start watching more of these movies, you see that like it goes so far beyond what Jackie was doing.
Yeah,
but he is still like one of the most otherworldly gifted people to do what he does. And this is what I mean when it's kind of a closed book. Like, just nobody makes films like that anymore.
No, it's not like it's literally impossible to do it. It's not logistically possible to make a movie the way that they made it.
And it's probably for the best.
And it is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Because I know, something that we talk about when we watch these movies together or whatever, right? Is the conditions that produced like people like Sammo and Jackie. Yeah. Which is torture. Yeah. Right?
They spent their entire childhoods and teenage years under the tutelage of these brutal masters who were training them in the Peking opera, right? And that just involved backbreaking labor it kind of sounds like what you're doing now with business, right? From like 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Those were their hours, right? With
Except
a break.
I'm not a child. So it's it's kind of okay what they're doing to me. Yeah.
But it's funny how that manifests itself, because if you watch their films, they always have training sequences with these brutal dictatorial masters.
Yes.
And part of the fun of their movies is they're little brats, and they get to kind of like take it out on their their masters, like Drunken Master famously, right? Jackie's just like a little piece of shit who is always pulling pranks on the people trying to train him. And in his training sequences, he's always finding ways to, like, you know, get around doing the actual work that he's being asked to do. Anyways, so he becomes a big star in North America with Rumble in the Bronx and then Rush Hour. And so, yeah, for a period of about like 5 years, he was just like part of the cultural firmament in a way that is kind of like actors just aren't anymore in general, right? Like that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, the system's just kind of changed enough now that like there aren't really movie stars like that.
But if you think about just how international he was as a movie star, there's kind of never been anybody else like him. Maybe I'm overselling it a little bit, but
no,
just as far as like a star who was able to be as big as he was in Hollywood while also like rising up in like a completely different market. When we talk about like big movie stars, sometimes we don't think about the fact that like in non-English speaking countries, people don't care about some of these actors, you know?
Yeah, people like Arnold Schwarzenegger would be a good example, right? Like that he was popular across the world. Like not in the same way that Jackie was, but in the way that his cultural cachet was like huge in Japan and huge in whatever, I don't know, other countries.
But he never really started outside of like the American film system. Like
not
in
really,
Austria,
right?
He was still just bodybuilding and stuff. And
yeah. He came up through America. Yeah, you're right.
He was a big bodybuilder as a
Pumping Iron.
Pumping Iron. Yeah,
Pumping Iron.
He won Mr. Olympia 8 times in a row or something.
Yeah.
Which Jackie also did.
Oh, good.
Bruce Lee might have gone into that level if he never passed away.
I guess.
Well, he died right when that was because Enter the Dragon was is adjusted for inflation like crazy box office, right?
Right.
It's still like quite a huge movie, and it's iconic, obviously, and it did really well in Western markets, and it's directed by Robert Klaus, who tried to give Jackie Chan a movie to do something similar with The Big Brawl in 1980, which is I actually kind of like it. I know of Jackie's first 2 attempts at having a starring role in North American movies. I like both of them actually.
What's the other one again? It's
The Protector.
The Protector, right.
And The Protector is crazy. The Protector is directed by James Glickenhaus, who's just a sleaze filmmaker. And when The Big Brawl flopped, the number one movie in the box office was Glickenhaus's movie, The Exterminator.
Right.
And so Jackie said, okay, I'm going to make a movie with this guy because he had the biggest film when my movie failed, right? And so it has like Jackie Chan like plugging bullets into people and blood splattering the walls, you know? And Jackie's swearing, and there's like, you know, gratuitous nudity of like people assembling drugs, you know? Like
sick.
And if you watch Glickenhaus, he'll be like, well, they do that. The woman can't wear tops while they're because they don't want them hiding drugs in their bras and getting out with them. So it's like all these naked ladies.
And then we bring in the girls.
And Danny Aiello's in it, right?
Oh,
and it's Jackie and Danny Aiello are partners. And
classic pairing,
Yeah, Jackie's calling Danny Aiello. He's going, hey, Billy boy. And yeah, it's crazy. I like both of those movies, but partially just for the novelty of them. And even at the like most, like, I don't know, like there's those films don't film Jackie the way he should be filmed, and he knows how to film himself. So a lot of films he directed are so excellent, right? But even so, like if you point a camera at Jackie Chan and get him to jump around, it's thrilling. Like just watching him do what he can do with his body is like otherworldly. It's amazing, right? And that goes for all those people, like Yoon Biao,
especially Sammo.
Yeah. And I mean that calligraphy scene is crazy.
It's so funny
in Prodigal Son.
I was gonna say that maybe for our Canadian listeners who make up the majority of our listenership, our vast listenership, the Hong Kong, China kind of national cinema situation is similar to Canadian cinema and Montreal, Quebec, right? Except that the Quebec movies that are successful are not at the level of Hong Kong movies. They're movies called La Boys about a hockey team. that like spank each other in the. I don't know. We'll do the La Boys movies. Every time I see that DVD in a Valley Village, I'm like, man, why haven't I seen La Boys, or La Boys 2? You know,
I haven't heard of it till now.
Oh well, you haven't lived. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, kind of in the sense that
there's like a distinct cultural identity from a small localized place, but those films are the ones that actually like have passionate fan bases. They make lots of money. Like always, the highest grossing Canadian films in Canada are these Quebec films that none of the rest of Canada has seen or heard of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because Quebec, like it or not, is like actually has culture, whereas Ontario just doesn't. Right?
No. Ontario's culture is a business, baby.
Yeah.
Ontario's open for business. Dougie.
Oh God.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, so Shanghai Noon is.
Oh yeah, Shanghai Noon
is the movie we're talking about.
That's right, actually. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's and I don't know, how did sorry that I've been talking so much. How are you feeling, Alex?
About the movie?
Yeah,
Shanghai Noon?
Yeah, how was it revisiting it? Like, had you seen it since you had seen it as a kid?
No.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it in a long time. And there were elements of it that I definitely forgot about. I completely forgot about the whole, like, evil slave trade.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about that being made today, if that would be an element in it, because
there were parts of it that I admired, because like straight up like saying like, you know, the exploitation of, you know, Chinese laborers to build the railway was like slave labor, which is like, that's a hard stance, and like that's cool. But I didn't like that they also made the person like in charge of the operation like a Chinese like expat, like immigrant, you know, like they could have kept it like this sniveling like white guy who brings over the princess. So the story is basically Lucy Liu is a princess in the Forbidden City, and she's enticed. She's not happy with her life. She's engaged. She's betrothed to someone who she describes looks as a toad, which I also forgot about that line, which cracked me up. And then this like, you know, sneaky white man is like, "Come away with me, princess. Like I'll take you to America or whatever." But then you find out she makes it to America, and he's working for someone who used to be one of her imperial guards, who is running a slave labor camp building the railway.
Yeah.
And then almost instantly, like once he delivers her, he's like, "I want more money." And then the I forget his name, the Chinese villain kills him. And it's like, the Chinese do not renegotiate or whatever. And I was like, like, you know, they and he has his like white sidekick villain as well. But like it felt like, you know, they should have like just kept the villains as the exploitative white folks. You know, it's kind of like passing the buck on the exploitation of the creation of the railroad back to the Chinese.
If the film were more serious about it and had more insight here, it would maybe make some kind of case for like the exploitative system of capital being the real bad guy, right?
Yeah,
and like the ethnicity of the person isn't, you know, at some point the poison enters into everything as long as right.
Yeah, but it's not, and this isn't a knock against the movie, but it doesn't go that deep.
No.
The fact that it even depicts
it's so interesting.
It is interesting because it's like, I guess these are like what, like a light PG-13 movies. Maybe not even.
Yeah, the PG-13 for sure, I think. Yeah.
So, you know, they're for kids basically, right? And you know, yeah, we were talking about that, like, you know, movies for kids made today, I think maybe, you know, thematically can still be rich, but as far as like depicting specific like historical atrocities, maybe
it's
they
controversial,
not as much, right? It's controversial.
It's controversial to depict them for so many reasons, right?
Yeah.
There's issues around like sensitivity and people thinking you can't show something like this in a children's movie, and then there's also issues around historicity. People saying that's actually people don't want to acknowledge that as history anymore.
Right.
There's like been so much pushback against like the historical atrocities of the United States within its own country, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Killers of the Flower Moon coming out in October.
But
everybody.
that's so funny because there's so many. I saw a thread today of people compiling all the tweets in response, and they're all blue checks, right?
Yeah.
To that trailer of people going
So
like,
good.
"Oh God, another white man dad movie," right? Like rolling their
so
eyes.
Funny.
It's
so
funny.
It's so funny. Yeah, Scorsese, like he's always trying to, okay. So what? Italian Americans are bad. Fine, okay. Howard Hughes is bad. Okay. Fine. Hugo is bad. That
good.
fucking little kid, that little bastard. What's another Scorsese movie? Taxi drivers are bad.
They're bad. Bostonians.
Oh, the
Bad.
Dalai
Yes.
Lama is bad.
Oh yeah, the Dalai Lama is bad. Yeah.
Scorsese called it, baby.
Yeah, Scorsese knew he knew that he's like this little kid. He seems okay now, but in however many 50, 60 years, he's going to be asking little boys to suck his tongue. That was weird.
Gross.
That was weird. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Shanghai Noon is not bad.
No, Shanghai Noon is a good movie. Directed by. Insert name after the fact here.
Nameless Hack.
Want to take
Hack.
bets? I feel like it was something close to like Dan Roy. I'm putting my money on Dan Roy.
His-
Do you have your phone here?
Yeah, I do. I'll look it up.
Let's
But
look it up.
Before I look it up, I can say that he also directed Marmaduke. I know.
Oh, great movie.
Tom Day.
Tom Day, Dan
what did I
Roy.
say?
Dan Roy is
Okay.
very close. It's
really
it's
close.
very much in the spirit of Tom.
my gosh.
Wait, Tom Day?
Tom Day. Okay,
Yeah.
so this guy directed
Charlie Day's
Shanghai
father.
Noon. It's his
Okay.
first movie, right?
Wow, great.
It's his first film. I think
Good.
I think he acquits himself quite well.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep doing this, but especially if you compare it to Rush Hour, there's fun choices with editing and shot composition.
Big time.
Yeah.
Okay, Shanghai Noon, which stars Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson and Lucy Liu too. But
Yep.
you get to direct a movie starring Jackie Chan, like one of the most effervescently talented people to ever be on screen, right?
Yeah.
His next film,
Yeah.
Showtime, which stars Robert De
Right.
Niro.
I remember looking that up.
That's
Yeah.
so funny because
Because we love Showtime on the show.
We do love Showtime on the show, not because this movie I have seen it, but I don't remember it. I have no idea.
I saw
but
it a couple times. as a
Okay,
kid, yeah.
That was something we talk about a bit is like when the movies from 2000, 2001, 2002 were this era where like we maybe would have got a DVD player sometime in the middle of there, maybe 2001, and started like just family renting things from Blockbuster. And it's like I wasn't a fully developed like movie guy until maybe like a year later, where I would start to seek out things and pick out things myself a little bit more actively. So a lot of the times I would just see these movies from that 3-year period. Where it would be my dad going to Blockbuster and being like, Showtime, Eddie Murphy, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're great.
Yeah.
Are they great in Showtime?
No. No, they're not. Yeah. But surely at one point in the movie, somebody says, it's Showtime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then
I distinctly remember that.
then it's a good movie.
It's like
Bob Fosse.
Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just always have to bring this up whenever,
Yeah.
because Star Trek First Contact has such a great example where Zefram Cochrane, the inventor of the warp drive, they go back in time and meet him, and they explain what they do, and he says, "So it's like you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek." and the reason they're back in time is because the Borg have gone to stop the Vulcans from meeting the humans for the first time. And so Jean-Luc Picard says, that's what they came here to do. Stop first contact.
And that's in like 1999 America, right? Like
Something
that's
like
where, yeah. I remember watching that on TV and it being like a very actually engrossing movie.
We got to do those movies because like I haven't seen most of them.
Oh my God.
I
I would
know.
love to hang out and watch Star Trek
Yeah.
movies.
Let's do it.
I mean, when you brought up, not to digress a little bit further, but when you
That's
brought
all
up
right.
this concept for this podcast and said I could come on sometime and talk about Jackie Chan or something,
Yeah.
I said the Police Story is the one you should do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Of
And
course.
because that film, that series spans multiple decades, multiple phases of his career, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of great films in there, and also like the bad ones are so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like especially the more recent ones, right?
Yeah, and there is actually a new Police Story 2 is supposed to be happening.
Great.
So
Well,
maybe once there's a release date, you should look.
We're definitely going to do those at some point.
yeah.
I've only seen
Yeah.
the first one.
We're going to be doing this
my
till we
God.
die, so eventually we'll just get
This is a
through.
lifetime. Yeah, this is similar to sort of Scientology. We make a 5 million year commitment. Yeah.
But okay, so with Shanghai Noon, right? There's an
Yeah.
imperial envoy sent to rescue the princess, right?
Jackie and 2 or 3 other guys.
And
Yeah.
his uncle.
And his uncle. Yeah.
Including Ringo Yu, who
Right.
is in the Iron Monkey,
Nice.
which is kind of funny to see him in this movie, just as like some
and
secondary character.
They're on the train with a bunch of gold in order to...
The ransom.
The ransom, yeah. And that train happens to be being robbed, Old West style, by Owen Wilson.
And
his-
Crazy Eyes
and his
Walton
gang,
Goggins.
including, Crazy Eyes Walton Goggins.
It was great to see a young Walton Goggins.
Yeah,
Does he look like a young Walton Goggins?
No,
kinda
he
looks
just
the
looks
same,
like
right?
Walton Goggins,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's I know because of science he is younger.
Yeah. And Walton Goggins being the crazy-eyed one, the shifty guy, he shoots Jackie's uncle and kills him.
Yeah.
And Jackie's very upset and fights them off in the train sequence and whatever. And
Blows up the vault that they were trying to get.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's a great shot that's really funny where they're, Owen Wilson and the gang have set up dynamite on the vault, and Jackie puts out almost all of it except for one, and then you see it blows, and it just like launches out of the train into a river.
Yeah, it is really funny.
It's really funny.
Yeah, and the gang kind of betrays him, and
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, Owen Wilson. Sorry,
Roy Bannon. Or Roy O'Bannon.
Yeah, and buries him up to his neck, right? And Jackie gives him the chopsticks to get out after he asks him for directions to
but
whatever.
He's
Tyson
having like
City.
a hallucinatory dream.
Oh yeah,
where
that's so
he's
funny. Yeah, where he's
being doted on
Yeah.
by multiple lovely looking women,
Yeah.
and he's just like doing full on Owen Wilson shtick.
so funny. He must have just. I mean, he must have just made all that, like
Probably
written all that up. 'Cause
It's really good.
It's so written for his particular like voice and cadence and everything. It's and they're like nibbling at his ear, and he's like, "Ow, that hurts! Ow, ow, ow!" And then it cuts to the
Famous cut, and it's actually
vultures.
a vulture. I wasn't able to watch the movie with you guys. I watched it on my own, but when that scene came up, I was like, oh, I could picture Ben like howling with laughter at this scene,
Yeah,
just because
I
he's
did.
like,
Yes.
he's so like in heaven in this like plush like orgy room
He's
being
got like
tended
an
to.
adorable red onesie on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the line too, right? He was like, I'm not gonna do it in Owen Wilson's voice. I can't do it. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Wow. He was like, he's like, I can't help but feel like all the gang hates me or something, right?
Yeah,
Is he like that?
I think he says like, I think all the other cowboys are mad at me.
Yeah, basically, right? Yeah, which is so good. Yeah. That was something I overcame today in my sales job. I was telling you about that. When you knock on the door, instead of your opening line being, "Are you mad at me?" You have to be a little bit more confident than that. So that's sort of what I'm talking about becoming more confident. It's not a good to break the ice with by saying, "Are you mad at me?"
Yeah.
It confuses people.
And I don't remember it's before or after Jackie gives him the chopsticks to dig himself out. We keep on saying Jackie. His name in this movie is John Wayne.
Yes.
Good bit.
Yeah.
Good bit.
But he does have like a pretty good fight scene in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets married. And he
Yeah.
gets a horse.
Yeah. He smokes. He gets high off the peace pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He fights a group of indigenous Americans
Yeah.
from like one tribe, and then they get scared off by another tribe and they take him in, and that's when they smoke the peace pipe, and then he just wakes up.
Yeah,
in
it's a
bed,
classic.
where he saves
like,
he saves one of the like children of the group, right?
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and finds out he's in bed with
the chief's daughter, basically.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Yeah, and they're married, and so she's sort of like a character that reappears throughout the film. As
she's like a guardian angel.
Yeah, exactly, saving their asses.
But there's something I like about that, because she's not like a Deus Ex Machina where she just shows up and like rescues the day. Because when she shows up, Jackie's always kind of in the process of saving himself anyway, just through like, his own wits and
through
power.
his own piss.
Yeah.
In one case, through his own piss. But then she just ends up like kind of like helping out or getting Owen Wilson out of like a tight situation,
Yeah.
So she's not just like, it's not just how like, Gandalf always shows up in Lord of the Rings with an eagle.
Right.
And then like everything's fine. Like Jackie's on his way to saving himself, and then she just expedites the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is
kind of cute.
Is very funny. Yeah.
So, like, as this film progresses, something happens which is never given, like, acknowledgement. But Jackie's married to this woman, and then Lucy Liu's character becomes part of the story, and Owen Wilson is being a horn dog and, like, flirting a lot with Jackie's wife. And by the end of the movie, it's kind of implied that like Jackie and Lucy Liu are hot for each other, and Owen Wilson and Jackie's wife. So I don't like maybe
swap.
they're just going to be a big polycule.
Yeah, I think so.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, they're
for
just
them.
swinging. Yeah,
It was awesome to see. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was very.
everybody's getting laid.
Okay, so Jackie becomes separated from the other Imperial guards, and the moment that I think the funniest line in the movie.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah,
I know what
it's
you're gonna
so
say.
fucking good, right? Where they're doing like kung fu to impress some Americans, right? And there's a family of Americans, like salt of the earth country bumpkins, and the lady goes, "Well, she says a word that I'm not going to repeat, right? Because they assume they're indigenous people, right? And he goes, "Oh no, honey, they're Jews."
Yeah, it's like those are the funniest native people I've ever seen. And he's like, "No, honey, they're Jews."
I burst
really
out
good.
laughing.
It's
Really good,
funny.
because I probably would have laughed because it's like a laugh line. When you're a kid, even with, like The Simpsons is obviously
You
a good
could
example.
hear the laugh track in the background.
Yeah,
right?
you know you're supposed
It's
to
a
laugh.
joke.
It's a joke, but you don't really get it.
Completely
And-
went over my head.
Yeah, it was very unexpected. Like I remember so little about this movie. Like I watched it when it came out, probably not in theaters, but definitely like rented it at some point. But I didn't remember any of this, so it was like kind of like watching it for the first time again. I remember them in the bathtub goofing off, and I remember like some elements maybe of the ending, but like that line is so funny.
And then they call it back later, because when they say goodbye to those Imperial
shalom,
guards, she's like, "Shalom," and they're so confused. They're like, "Shalom."
And
It's
then
really funny.
The bathtub
silly.
scene where they start
my
bonding,
God.
it's so good. They're like
It's
playing
so
some
funny.
drinking game.
Yeah.
They're getting more and more into it. And then they have like and then they're like, okay, we're done. And they're lying there and Owen Wilson's like, do you ever, I forgot what he says, but he's doing that thing of like, do you ever just think about where you're going in your life?
He's like like they're getting wasted, and then he's obviously like had too much to drink, and he's got the melancholy, right?
Yeah.
He's just lying in the tub, like and then they cut right back into it, right? The comedic timing in the movie is I know it's a lot of the jokes are very simple, but it's really
it's incredibly endearing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just like really comfortable, and it's not totally hack.
No.
But it's not super lazy. Like there's even a sequence, like speaking about Owen Wilson waxing poetic and being a horn dog when he's talking to Jackie's wife. And then it's like almost like it's not a training montage, but it's something like that.
That's
so
the I
funny.
Want to Be a Cowboy montage.
Yeah,
right?
but they're playing I Want to Be a Cowboy, and they cut the music out. They're playing with the audio cues too, and they just keep cutting back to Owen Wilson, and he doesn't think that she can speak English, and he's just like rambling about bullshit.
He's like, I'm like a horse, and if you put
yeah,
a bowl of oatmeal inside,
I'm just gonna jump over the.
I'm a wild stallion.
I just like it was so funny to me watching it, and like I knew it would be fun to watch, and I knew I'd laugh at. I knew I'd be impressed with Jackie and laugh at Owen Wilson because I think he's funny. But I was not expecting to find it as funny as I did, just because it's like I don't know what the Owen Wilson performances I would like maybe go back to or think about more would have been like the Wes Anderson stuff, right? You, Me, and Dupree. No, not that one. I haven't seen that, but it's on Tubi, and I'm going to. Just based on the title alone, it's kind of like a Cube 2 Hypercube title. you, Me, and Dupree, right? Because he's there between them, and they're like, "Oh, Dupree's here," and he's like, "I'm your buddy." Yeah, I don't really know what it's about,
but I don't know. I haven't seen it either, but kudos to its marketing because you instantly know what kind of character Dupree is from the title and from that cover you mentioned.
And you know what? You don't look at that poster, and you're like, okay, well, who's Dupree?
Yeah, is it Matt Dillon?
Is it Kate Hudson? No, it's got to be Owen Wilson.
You know who fucking Dupree is.
Yeah.
Oh, once Jackie and Owen Wilson team up and they go into some Western town and they have a run-in with the law, right?
Yeah.
And
Sandra
Jackie
Berkeley
has a pretty good fight scene, all things considered.
Where he ties the horseshoe to the rope.
Yeah,
and
very cool.
I remember being a kid, that just blowing my mind. And just in terms of like, the craft of filmmaking, the sound design in that like really sells the horseshoe like whipping around and like it feels like pretty impactful. And then what Jackie's doing is just pretty graceful and beautiful to watch. And then it cuts back and forth between that and Owen Wilson having like a duel, and he's like, the guy he's dueling with wants him to hurry up, and he's like, "This is a duel. It's what separates the men from the animals."
Yeah. He's doing his stretches.
It's a sacred.
yeah.
And then he's got his internal monologue going voiceover, and he's like, "Oh, today's the day you die."
Yeah. He's gonna blow you away.
And then Jackie saves him, and he's like, "You never interrupt a duel, okay? Like I had that." Like it's really funny.
Yeah, it's great that just cutting in between, because it could easily be like, okay, Jackie is proficient in like everything, and Owen Wilson is like an idiot and a dud or whatever, that kind of thing. But it's not like that, right? It's cutting between Jackie doing all this like fight choreography and doing it really well, and then Owen Wilson riffing, and if I may quote the Taika Waititi quote, that riffing at a level that is frickin' sublime. Yeah.
Well, Jackie gets to do a little bit more than he usually does in these American movies. It's still not full on, right?
No.
And it's shot in a way that's not as... I mean, it's just shot and edited in a more kind of conventional American style. And so it actually, the impact of it isn't as high as it would be if it were just shot like with a locked down camera, nice and wide, If you watch the movie, they edit around hits all the time. So you don't actually see any like contact.
There's a couple, there's a few that you see, but pretty much all the fights, it's like they're cutting around it.
And it's usually shot from like waist height with one person in the foreground and one person in the background, right? And the way, if you ever watch any of the Hong Kong movies, they like to shoot it is usually like a lockdown, like master shot, basically. And like maybe up to like 10 moves per shot. Whereas in this, it's like every 3 moves there's an edit, basically.
Yeah,
right. But for what it's worth, it's better than it's better than the fights in Rush Hour.
Yeah, it is. You were saying too, the fights in Rush Hour last only 10 seconds.
Well, because the producers were always saying that people don't want to watch action scenes. If they go on for longer than a minute, people will get bored. Which is crazy.
Yeah,
right?
What a dumb thing to say, right? I mean,
the last 15 minutes of Drunken Master 2 is the most glorious. It's like one of the high points of all of cinema, right? And it's just 15 minutes of pure, it's a one-on-one fight. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's actually like
we're gonna do
quite
this.
moving. It's like just glorious to watch. But yeah, so it's like not the fight. The fights aren't super involved or anything, but you get to see Jackie be creative. I'm thinking back to the scene in the forest where Jackie he leans up against a tree and then uses it to spring forward, and the tree hits his attacker.
Yeah.
Like little gags like that. They're so good. And the movie, just everything about it works. It's just like a really pleasing experience, you know? Just like the joy of watching a lightweight but really well-made movie like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned, you know, all the stuff Jackie does do, and they do shoot it and edit in a way where, you know, they didn't like murder him or put him through the ringer, probably not too much. But it's funny how they keep up that dichotomy of him, you know, working his ass off, and then because even at the end during the big showdown, Owen Wilson's still having like a very prolonged gunfight. It's but like it's his redemption moment too, where he finally is able to like take part in this duel that he's basically been putting off the whole movie. It's kind of poetic in a way.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And I would also just say, like, Jackie also gets to be funny, and that's like he's so stone-faced in the first Rush Hour. I know it's like not a Rush Hour show, but people love that movie. So what can I say?
It's it's the best point of comparison, right?
Yeah,
like it's a buddy comedy that he made around the same time, and that's his most successful American franchise, right?
Yeah.
So.
You're so right. And that's why I think like Rush Hour 2, when I think about it, my memory of it is that it's funnier because I think Jackie got to like loosen up a bit because at that point they're friends. But in Rush Hour 1, it's totally like the mismatched odd couple and like they just don't get along.
And his character in the first Rush Hour is like really serious. He's a serious guy. He's
looking for the girl.
Yeah, he's like, I need to find. She's a little girl. I need to find her. You know, like where is she? He's holding like up a picture of a child to a criminal, being like, "Tell me where she is." You know, and then Chris Tucker is just like bouncing off the walls. And it's just like it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't work to me at all. Right.
Yeah.
This Owen Wilson has like a really like his chill guy personality where he's like. He's trying to talk himself up and brag, but he's not dominating. He's very kind of actually like beta and sub. Yeah. Actually, so like he pairs really well with Jackie Chan in those kinds of scenes. And I think especially with Shanghai Nights, where there's a lot less restraint, it feels, on what Jackie's able to do. So the fight scenes are actually a lot more like actual Jackie Chan fight scenes, and it's so goofy and playful and fun to watch.
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to that because I mean, I probably remember that one even less.
I don't think
like you were sort of, and don't mention it, but you were saying a few other goofy things that happened in it.
So funny.
I was like, there's no way. I definitely did not remember any of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to watching it. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm curious because again, like with Rush Hour 2, Jackie got to finally loosen up, right?
Yeah.
So, but throughout the course of Shanghai Noon, like Owen Wilson's, the whole internal struggle of Jackie Chan is that he just, you know, sticks to the code and he doesn't have like a sense of humor or whatever. And he's kind of, there's actually a weird line that the villain says towards the end where like, you know, he pulls out the decree and Jackie instantly grovels and he's like, once a slave, always a slave, or something like that, or like, and it was just like, whoa, the whole point of this movie is to, you know, like break away from dogmatic tradition and chill out with Owen Wilson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah, but Owen does like kind of break through to him finally, you know, and they do have this like great rapport, and you know, and at the end they partner up to take down the bad guys robbing the train.
And similar to Jackie Chan's name being John Wayne.
Yes, that's such a good joke.
Wilson says his name is Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
And they both talk about how those are terrible cowboy names.
Yeah.
But they have such a good rapport by the end of this movie that I'm so excited to see like what their relationship is like in Shanghai Nights. You know, because Jackie's already at that level where he's, you know, loosened up and broken free, and
It's so interesting because, the buddy comedy thing of, like, they have a falling out. They have a falling out because Owen Wilson gets really racist in a conversation that Jackie overhears. And, like, the movie takes it seriously enough for it to be, like, a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
It's, like,
drunk,
not really played for laughs that Owen Wilson's saying these things. It's actually like, oh, this is hurtful.
No,
he shouldn't say this.
Yeah. And it's like indicative of his sort of weak-willed character, where as soon as someone like questions why he's hanging out with the Chinese guy, he's like, oh, well, we're not actually friends.
I would never actually ride with him.
He's like drunk in
yeah.
a brothel just trying to impress someone.
Yeah, it's after their bath. And that ends with them in the same bath together.
so funny.
And one can only assume, rubbing up against each other a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
And Jackie's
friends do.
really drunk when he overhears it, and is like
Yeah.
very emotional
He's
too.
sad,
Like
yeah.
it's nice.
It actually, I mean, and it like it's not a big thing, and it's resolved, pretty quickly, right? As far as these things go, but also like if in the buddy cop thing or the rom-com thing, where there's that kind of often very forced, overhearing or breakup of some kind, or you know what I mean, or a problem introduced near the end before they then reconcile and get back together. It makes sense in this movie. Like it's the kind of thing that makes sense for those characters, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they play it really well.
No, they do.
Yeah. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's
yeah.
like
I'm really happy we watched it. It was
and
fun.
Other than some obvious, like, some of the language used and some of the attitudes displayed in it are just like, pretty, I don't know, they're bad,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not like those attitudes have changed much. Like, you can still find that kind of shit in films all over the place.
Definitely.
But, like,
they don't but the words have been removed.
yeah,
the attitudes
people
are
have
still
learned
there.
how to have basically found the loopholes,
Yes, yes.
like doing the land acknowledgement and then proceeding to like.
Yeah.
I went to see Someone Lives Here, which is a film about the tiny shelters built by
Right.
Khalil in the Toronto encampments, right? And
Yeah.
before the film, there were ads for like. Banks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Ads for like, the best was there was an ad for an RV, right?
Oh,
like
but
an actual mobile home.
Was it part of Hot Docs too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's always the funny thing at TIFF. It's like if you're TIFF or Hot Docs or any film festival, when you see a film that I think particularly at Hot Docs, where a lot of the documentaries, right, are like overtly political, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, presented to you by Cartier Diamonds or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah, what's that? There's a Leonard Cohen song on.
Jordan is wearing a Leonard Cohen shirt. It's a
true.
new skin for the old ceremony, I think.
My favorite
and
album of his, I think.
that Jordan introduced me to that I was not familiar with, and now also one of my favorite Leonard Cohen songs. Is This What You Wanted?
But so good.
I love that song.
On his last album before he died,
Yeah.
You Want It Darker. There's a song.
Is that what it's? I thought it was called "I'm About to Die."
Yeah, it's like Black Star. There's
Black
like
Star,
so many of these
AKA
albums.
I'm About to Die.
What's
Yeah.
the John Prine one? Tree of Forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
Every old songwriter has an album that's like it looks like
Yeah.
it's any day now.
There's another. Oh god, I don't.
Paul Simon just put one out actually, where all the reviews, like people are kind of mad because there's this New York Times review, I think.
Oh.
That's just like
He's gonna die?
like it sounds like he's about to die, like based on the songs on this album. He's 81. I don't know. Anyways,
That's great.
but there's a line where he sings. The poison enters into everything.
Yes.
And I just think about that all the time when it comes to just like the rot of producing anything under capitalism, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you can't actually escape from this. But all I'm trying to say, getting
Right.
back to this, is that Shanghai Noon, time has been really kind to it, minus these obvious discretions, right? Like,
yeah. In particular, when you compare it to films of that same year, even, right? Like that have significantly worse attitudes or bad words
And-
or whatever, right?
Yeah. And not to like, I mean, actually, too, I'm going to engage in a bit of hackery.
Oh,
you
good.
know?
Oh,
Films-
well, welcome to the franchisees.
Films like-
this would be the first time anyone said anything hack on the show.
Films like this just kind of don't get made.
They
right?
don't. They
So
don't.
and
Of
it's
course not.
it's one of those things you see it floating around on Twitter all the time of like, oh, like when you had to shoot on film, films had to look like
There was a minimum
like,
standard. Yeah.
What's the Janusz Kaminski Vanilla Ice movie?
Oh yeah, Cool as Ice,
which is shot by Janusz Kaminski, whose cinematography I actually kind of am tired of.
Me too.
But
Yeah.
he shoots the hell out of Cool as Ice, right?
Yeah.
And just like watching Shanghai Noon and being like, it looks pretty good.
Yeah,
you know,
it does. It doesn't.
Films
Films
at that level these days
right.
look terrible.
They do. Yeah. how everything, I don't know, and there are people on Twitter, not everybody on Twitter, but some people on Twitter are really good at this. People who actually are, there's a couple cinematographers that I follow that often will engage in that discourse and bring a level of knowledge and insight that most of the film Twitter, I've never made a film, but I watch a lot of movies type guys, like myself maybe, that talk about like why digital cinematography today looks the way it does. So I don't remember exactly what it is, but like there's that certain sort of look, that very dim look that's like they just applied a LUT, like an LU, right? What does it stand for? I don't know. I don't remember what it stands for. But you know what I mean. It's basically just like, this is the color grade filter we picked. And it's just this muddy gray looking thing, and that's what the movie is, and it's designed to look good on streaming or to whatever, and that's just how everything looks now, right?
I remember like a lot of it is when people started shooting digitally more and smaller projects and whatnot. The intention was almost to like shoot it as flat as possible, because then you could do it so much in post, with color grading and everything, because everything's digital and it's easier to do. But it's almost like sometimes people forget to kind of like color grade it or enhance it, or maybe they do it in like the wrong way,
Yeah, well, and like, we were talking a bit about Michael Mann or like Miami Vice and other great like digital looking movies, but like Oh Brother Where Art Thou was the first digitally color graded movie, I think, right? I don't know if maybe it's the first, but it was one of the first to use like a fully digital color grading process, and it looks great. Yeah, because they had like an actual intention behind it.
Yeah, it feels like there was a choice.
A good cinematographer made it.
Yeah,
and good directors, and so it's not. I think a lot of the discourse gets boiled down to film is better than digital, or things can't look good because digital is so much easier to shoot and there's no standard bearers and this and that. It isn't necessarily that. I think it's just that like the Hollywood filmmaking is so lazy for the most part.
People aren't making as interesting choices.
Well, they just don't care. Yeah. Okay. It's so difficult to get a movie made that the only things that get made are by people who play the game, right?
You just lit up some neurons.
Yeah, I saw it.
Before we go, I wanted to be more comprehensive about this.
Okay.
But I wasn't able to.
All right.
But I wanted to make a list of indiscretions that I've gathered from listening to your show and bring them up.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. So let's do that, and we'll wrap it up.
I don't have a list of indiscretions because I couldn't go back through every episode and just write down every single time something made my blood boil, or something was like, someone needs to say this. Like, why hasn't everyone said this yet? Yeah. Right? I don't have a list, right? But I'll bring up a couple things.
Yeah,
bring it next time.
Okay, and I'll say the reason why. I mean, number one, I love listening. I mean, Alex, this is my first time meeting you.
Yes,
and it's been so nice.
Oh, thank you.
But I love listening to Ben talk about movies, and I love talking about movies with Ben. So I've listened to your show since you started doing it, and it's been a great time. And then Ben and I met because we worked at Schmaltz together, and so Ben's ex-coworkers, shout out to Nat and Alex.
Hey, Nat and Alex, we love you.
Yeah, we love them.
Yeah.
And they like hearing Ben's voice in the store again. So we listened to it. Wow. So that's why I've listened to every episode multiple times, because we'll cycle through them.
Understood.
Right?
That's very funny to me.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And Anthony was excited to hear you that one time.
That's so funny.
Yeah, he was also excited to learn that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is part of more. It has more. There's more than just The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
That's also very funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know that it was part of a series.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the thing that I thought about, because you brought up Oh Brother Where Art Thou, is Roger Deakins, because you were talking, I think, I forget which episode it was on, but you're talking about how Roger Deakins has this like notorious list of snubs, Oscar snubs, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't win for Skyfall was something that do you remember?
No,
talking about
I think I was genuinely curious if he'd won for Skyfall, because I felt like that was one of the ones.
He didn't win for Skyfall. Do you know what won the year Skyfall was nominated?
No.
Life of Pi,
Yes.
which doesn't have cinematography.
Which is digital.
Yes.
That's reductive and mean to say, but it actually is like insane.
That's very funny.
Right?
That's very funny. Okay, good. So these aren't all like
it's just like-
stupid things we said. It's more like, you should have mentioned
things.
this.
Okay,
It's stupid things we said. Come on, come on.
Well,
lay
it's
it
actually
on us.
something that neither of you said, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Is it
you've
what
already
Aiden,
brought this
what
up.
Aiden said?
It's
Yeah, it's so good.
crazy.
This is good. This is great. Okay, because we're creating our extended universe. The guests may meet guest crossover events.
No, someone I've never met.
Yeah, it's funny. So what did you say
No.
to me after you listened to the Godfather 2 episode?
It's just that the idea that the death of Vito Corleone in The Godfather is like somehow not properly dramatized is nuts, right? Like the smallness of that scene is the point, and it's beautiful, right? It's like quite moving, I think. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it just happens isn't like an accident or isn't like a mistake. Like they watched it and it's like, oh fuck, we forgot to film his death with intention. Like it's really well done, and it's like I just can't believe that somebody thinks that it's like. And also, this is pedantic and petty.
Do you hear this, Aiden?
But because Aiden was also like, the movie's called The Godfather, and when your character called the God, he's not the Godfather when he dies.
That's
He's
true.
no longer Don Corleone, right?
That's
Michael's the Godfather at that point.
right.
So even under that logic, his idea that it's not done properly fails. But even so, I'm throwing my right hand around
Yes,
with my finger
yeah.
pointing. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but it just, and then okay, so you watched all the Godfather movies, right?
Yeah.
The difference between Vito Corleone dying in the garden, but he's got his grandson there, right? And he dies a peaceful, and it's like the idea. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah. It's a very peaceful death, all things considered, for that man.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Yeah.
it's because it's the rot, the poison enters into everything, right?
Yeah.
The fall of Michael Corleone, the film, that series is just the slow extraction of his soul from his body, right? And his struggle to keep it, right? And it's a half-hearted struggle because he doesn't try as hard as he should, right? And the moment when it is irredeemable for him is when he kills Fredo, right? And so the way that scene is dramatized and contrasting it, the death of Fredo with the death of Vito, right? And like, look at the difference. And then to put a final pin in it, watching Michael die alone, old, completely alienated, no family, right?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a sterile, lifeless environment, slumped over in his chair, dead from diabetes, which it's problematic as a metaphor, but what they're saying is like he's lived too rich.
He ate a lot of cake.
He's overconsumed in life.
It's way too much cake,
And
yeah.
he didn't, he wasn't attentive to the people around him,
Yeah.
right? He wasn't responsible to his family, right?
Yeah.
And it's like all put together so beautifully. It's like, I don't, like, do I have to say this? The Godfather is a triumph. It's like a cinematic triumph.
Well-
And to say that Vito's death is like, oh, it's crazy. drives me crazy.
some people could say that. Other people, like what Aiden said, is that a Godfather is a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay for both people to have these opinions.
When Aiden comes back, he can talk shit about Jackie Chan or whatever. Like, I'm sorry to do that.
No, we'll have you on.
Aiden loves
It'll
Jackie
be
Chan.
like Crossfire.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
I gotta ask where you stand on the "Did Fredo know he was gonna die?" debate.
I think Fredo doesn't. Like, that's the way.
Yo, fuck yeah, bro.
That's
yes.
just the way I accept
In your fucking face, Alex. Sorry.
No.
No, I know, because the joke is because it isn't like that. It's not a. I agree with you. It is up to interpretation.
I just think Fredo doesn't because that's the most devastating version of that.
Exactly.
Because it's like
Exactly.
if you're looking at that ending as it being like the bleakest and cruelest fate for Fredo, it's that he trusts Michael still. Like,
Yeah.
he's so naive that he
thinks,
looks at Michael
Yeah.
and thinks like there's still my brother in there. When Michael
hugs him, at the mother's funeral, I think he thinks I have made amends with my brother, and I am back in this family, and I will be a good uncle to his son, and I'll never fuck up ever again.
If Fredo knows he's going to die, then he doesn't sit in the chair and go, "I'm not stupid, I'm smart," right?
I'm smart. I'm not dumb like everybody
'cause
says.
You watch that and you go, "Poor Fredo, like this beautiful boy.
Yeah.
He's naive.
Yeah.
He's not smart enough to know that Michael, like, he doesn't look at Michael as anything but like as his brother that he loves, right? And it's so sad that he's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that's why Fredo doesn't know, because he's just a poor boy. Poor Fredo.
Well,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Believe me, I do.
I also think I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. Fredo, yeah, whatever.
Any more grievances
Uh,
that you can remember? Like what was really upset you, or other things you wanted to say, and things you wanted to shout at the podcast?
Between now and Shanghai Nights, I've got to. I'll
do it.
try to compile the list.
Make a list.
But
it'd be funny.
There have totally been times when I think there was something in one of the John Wick episodes that kind of got to me.
Yeah.
It might have just been you talking about Donnie Yen and not mentioning like Donnie Yen. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's
sometimes
because,
it's
like my brain just wants to talk about like In the Line of Duty 4.
Of course.
Of course. And you're talking about Donnie Yen.
We haven't seen that,
yeah.
right? It's I know.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes too when we have a guest on, we'll kind of look to the guest to kind of guide it. And so like if Joel was on that time and didn't talk about those Donnie Yen movies, it's Joel's fault. I'm passing the buck. You hear that, Joel? Sorry, it's not really your fault. I'm just shifting blame. Yeah,
Anyways.
which is the name of the game.
No, you guys do a great job, and it's a good show. Like the people
Not a great show.
It's a good show. It's a good show. It's like The Godfather, like 3 out of 5.
Yeah. This is the Godfather. 3 out of 5 Aiden version.
People around me who have no reason to love you like I do have really liked it. When I turned the show
who?
on.
Like people who don't know me, or
Yeah, people who don't know you.
oh, that's funny. Yeah. Okay, great.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Nice. Well, thanks a lot. Hey, we should have this guy back.
Hey.
If you want to fluff us up, flattery does work here. It's our favorite currency. So thank you for saying that.
Speaking of ratings, if you were to have an Owen Wilson wow, and the amount of O's between the W's were how much you like Shanghai Noon, how long would your wow be?
Yeah.
I have 2 answers to this.
Okay, great.
Because I give things a 5 or a 0.
Yeah, Jordan has an all or nothing letterboxed rating scale.
But to be serious, like this is the best possible version of a 3.5.
Yes,
5 movie.
exactly.
I completely agree.
Like some versions, so like if the Deer Hunter's 3.5 out of 5, and that means I don't ever want to watch it. This Shanghai Noon,
that's really interesting.
Sorry, this is a hot take.
No, it's not, because that's very much how I feel about the Deer Hunter. I think it's a really complicated, ugly, and weird movie that gives me bad feelings, and is also like a fascinating and extremely well-made movie. So I
like some movies are 3.5 out of 5, and it's like, oh, it could have been great.
Yeah,
this movie's like it fits exactly where you want it to in your life, and you can watch it whenever you want, and it will be there for you. Yeah, I watched this movie when we put down my dog.
Oh yeah.
We came home. I was sitting with my brother, and we just watched both of them. It's just like it's
a comfort watch.
It's such a easy movie to enjoy.
There's like rewatchable 3.5s, and then like you said, there's disappointing 3.5s. And this is definitely like a rewatchable, solid 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Deerhound is a good idea. Or like if I were to give Tar like 3.5,
Right.
that's me saying that's me being like this was a huge disappointment.
That's another good example.
It is a good example. I don't know what I actually gave it. No, I was cowardly. I didn't give it a rating. I don't know.
I gave it a 5, and then I gave it a 0.
I remember that. Yeah, that was, I know. I like when
funny.
it switches. Yeah, you're like, you know what? 5 stars, all stars gone. Sorry.
So yeah, I guess that leaves Shanghai Noon at a wow.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That's exactly
sounded
how
like
long.
3.5?
That's exactly how long it should have been.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you have anything you want to plug, Jordan? Oh, I should say, I mentioned on the last episode, but Jordan has a band. The band is called Westalaken,
Yeah,
and on their self-titled debut album, they have a song called Jackie Chan.
Oh, that's true as well.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe
I listened to it, and I was like, this. He doesn't say Jackie Chan once in this song.
Oh, it's one of those songs. It's like how Drake has a song called Wu-Tang Clan, and he doesn't mention the Wu-Tang Clan.
It is, yeah. Kind of, Westalaken is sort of the Drake of Toronto DIY
if Toronto had
indie
music,
bands.
then yeah.
I've actually seen you guys live before.
Oh yeah, when?
Yeah, years ago. You guys played a show with my good friend's band Nutrients at like the Smiling Buddha basement.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think it was at the Smiling Buddha. I think it was the Chladni single release show, and it was at Glenora. It's like a house, because that's the only time we played with Nutrients.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if you remember us playing at the Smiling Buddha, and then maybe I've played with Nutrients more than once.
Someone might be due for a flogging next episode.
we haven't done it in a while. Yeah.
No,
anyway, okay, cool. So yeah, did you,
what was I gonna? Oh, the Jackie Chan thing.
Yeah.
Rumble in the Bronx has this great scene where he is in a gang hideout and he beats the shit out of everybody and humiliates them. Right? He's like beating them up with fridges, beating them up with arcade cabinets,
so good.
beating them up with skis, right?
Yeah.
And they're all just like a groaning heap of bodies. And then he turns around before he leaves and looks at them and goes, "The next time we meet, I hope we won't be fighting.
Yeah.
Instead, we'll drink tea together."
Yeah.
And then he walks out and
So
it
good.
rocks,
So
right?
good. We saw that movie recently in the cinema at the Fox Theater, courtesy of the Important Cinema Club movie podcast, which we also both enjoy.
Yeah.
And that was a really good night. That was a great screening.
Yeah. And so that song is just like extrapolated from that line.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
all it
Right.
is.
Right.
That's why it's called Jackie Chan.
Yeah, it's good. It gave me an excuse to listen to that album again because I hadn't listened to it in a while because I'd mostly, I guess, been listening to Golden Days Are Hard, which I also like. I like your music a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't come out to the shows enough, but I'm going to come out to the upcoming show, an album release party show that is on May 26th on Friday
at Transact.
Oh, right around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't geo-target myself.
Yeah, you're screwed now. Yeah, so I don't know. If you're like a Toronto person who wants to come out to that, you should come out to that. I'm not expecting anyone to come out to I'm not. I told Jordan.
What about the Quebec listeners that you get?
Yeah.
Are
Hey,
they
if you
still hanging on?
Yeah, they're around.
so.
Bonjour,
Yeah.
notre ami en Quebec.
Friend of the show, Isaac,
Future
followed me on Twitter. Future guest, I'm sure at some point we will.
Didn't someone reach out to be?
That's him. Yeah,
okay.
we will have Isaac on eventually. Isaac, if you're in line to be a franchisee's guest, stay in line.
Yeah. Also, because we've recently gotten more regular listeners in Switzerland and Germany, I think it'd be super sick to have a guest from Switzerland or Germany. So stay on the line as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All sorts of things I like about Switzerland. I won't list them here. I don't want to be offensive, but it's a lot of good stuff.
I'm neutral on Switzerland.
Yeah, me too. I was going to make a joke like that, but then I thought, you know what? I bet that really, because they're not.
It's irritating.
It must be irritating to them. Yeah.
I just alienated your international audience.
Yeah. Chocolates and clocks. Yeah, we get it. Yeah, Germany, cool. Listen, if you want to come on if you want to be, we'll talk about No, not that.
No, that's
What?
not. This is just a weird segment.
Yeah, no, it is
like begging people to
I know
come on
to come on the show. Yeah. And then if anyone were to message me, I'd be like,
No,
I'm scared of you.
It'd be cool.
We'll talk about the famous German film series, Der Funkyman, what's the German movies? What German?
We could watch all of Berlin, Alexanderplatz.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
That's
great.
what we'll do. Great.
Yeah. Oh no. Fassbinder's BRD trilogy, whatever it's called. I actually haven't seen any of those. So like marriage.
DVD.
Yeah. Well, did Herzog ever make sequels? No, not really. We'll watch Nosferatu and then Herzog's Nosferatu.
Yeah, and then similarly, we could watch Bad Lieutenant. And
well, we
then
definitely gonna do that because that's the definition of not a franchise, and that's what we like to do on this show. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you,
Jordan.
Thank you.
And
hopefully we can all watch Shanghai Nights together.
Yeah, let's try to get it all together, and maybe I won't have to work next Saturday. That would be cool.
Would be nice.
And then we could watch it earlier in the day and hang out.
Yeah, I have the day off. Actually.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah.
There you go.
Until then, we're gonna go out to the strains of "I Want to Be a Cowboy Baby."
Yeah.
Oh wait, like and rate and review on your podcast app.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a pro. What are we doing?
Well, I figured we covered it at the beginning. That's the sweet spot.
No, you got to say it three.
No, you do.
Say,
you got to
say
bookend it.
Yeah.
What if I said it again and you cut it and inserted it very clumsily into the middle? Just cut someone off halfway through a sentence.
And they won't
in the middle of
understand
the
it.
show.
They won't understand it until right
Okay,
now.
So I'll say it again. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty funny.
Please remember to like and subscribe and review.
Yeah,
your
good
podcast app.
read, Jordan. Yeah, that's great. Listen, buddy, if you were in sales, I would have fired you right there on the spot. You know, there's no time for that. You got to be a fucking freight train, bro. Okay. Do you believe in God, Jordan? God, this is a conversation. I'm not naming names. I'm not telling anybody the product that I sell. This is a conversation that someone said to me today. Not today, but this week. It was, do you believe in God? And whatever answer. No, I mean, the universe, whatever it is. He's like, God, the universe, you, me, whatever. It's about that mindset. It's about that. It's about that spirituality. It leads you to the sale. God leads you to the sale.
Jesus.
Right?
Literally.
And so if that's the way you have to think about it to make the sale, Godspeed. Right? Godspeed? Where?
Headed out west, sucker, because I wanna be a cowboy, baby. With a top left back and the sunshine shining. Cowboy, baby. West Coast chillin'.